Alright guys, back with another build video. Today's a special one. It's going to kick off a series about building my entire bar into a Fallout themed bar. Not the whole room, but just the bar itself. I'm going to be redesigning it and everything's going to be Fallout theme, and what a better way to start than printing a complete functional Fallout hacking terminal. So I'm going to show you the file I'm going to be using. I'll be modifying it quite a bit, but I just want to give a shout out to the original designer because without his work, this would have been way bigger of a project. All I have to do is scale it up, modify it, change some things around. So I'll show you the file I'll be using and get started on printing. All right, this is the file I'm going to be using. Fallout 4 wall-mounted terminal by Power Up Props. So thank you, Power Up Props. I appreciate the awesome design and the hard work. I'm going to start modifying this now and getting it ready to print. All right, and a few other things I'm using for this project. This 7-inch touch screen. Once I scale up the model by 175%, this should fit edge to edge perfectly. And this Govee RGB light strip, on Prime Day they were on sale, so I ordered 10 of those, and I'll be using one for the terminal project. All right, got the printers going, so cue the time-lapse videos, and now. I'm gonna actually have this mounted, I think, on the ceiling of the bar, kind of on an angle tilted downwards, and I'm gonna have it display all the bar menu items, and I'm gonna achieve that with this screen. It's a 7-inch touchscreen LCD display that's meant for the Raspberry Pi. I'm actually not using a Raspberry Pi because this has HDMI. So I think I have to modify the frame a little bit to make it fit. It pretty much fits, but if you look here where the I/O is, I have to cut a space for it to sit, and then also a access port in the side. So I have some modifications to do, but should have this really nice 7-inch LCD screen mounted in there, and then I'll have like a what do you call it, brim, there's a word and I'm not thinking of it right now, but covering up this space. Bezel, that's the word. I got to make a bezel for both these sides, and then what I'm going to be plugging into the HDMI is a Chromecast. So that gives me the option to be able to stream anything I want to it, but also Chromecast has like this screensaver function where it kind of just flicks through pictures. So I'm gonna make my own custom images that are all Fallout bar menu items, but in the style of the monochrome Fallout green terminal. So that's all coming up soon. Right now we got to get to do some cutting and fitting for the screen. All right, so after lots of dremeling, I've got the screen fit perfectly centered here. And you can see I had to take out quite a bit of material to get the I/O to fit, but it's fit. And I'm going to epoxy putty a smooth kind of bezel. So I cut the hole a little bit too big, but also you got to remember the HDMI cord has to fit in there, and the cord usually has a big chunky end. All right, this is actually a relatively thin one, and you can see how much extra material has to be able to fit in the I/O. So I'm just going to make a couple measurements, and then I can fill and make a nice clean bezel along the edges. As for this part, you can see what I had to cut away for the screen. So I did that on both sides, and the same thing, I will fill in the voids from the printer's infill negative space. So I'm gonna get started on that, and I will tune back in when I'm done. All right, so I've just finished cleaning up the IO port. Put a little back plate there so it kind of blocks off the part that is not covered by the actual board itself. I'll put it in and show you now. So you slide it in like that, pops into its place, locks in, and then you can see like that, and then the cords have space to fit here and there. So pretty happy with that. Now I have to fill and sand and do the same thing with this right here. As I said, I had to cut that out to make it fit. It's pretty rough, so got to sand and fill, make it look nicer. And it's still having a little trouble sitting, but I'll find out where the snag is. So that's what's next. All right, so I just dremeled out some slots there so I could put my threaded inserts, and I just backed them with some putty, epoxy putty, keep it in place. So I'm just going to let that harden up. That'll allow me to mount the screen into the chassis. All right, I've got the Fallout TV working, lots of modifications, making an IO port, running cables, making clearance for the screen. But the proof of concept is finished. It is working. I just have to make like an extended bezel here, because sadly you cannot get modern screens in a 4:3 aspect ratio like this is designed for. So you have to make like a little bezel and have like a 16:9 in the center. But I mean, so cool regardless. Lots of work left to do. Still got more parts to print, sand, paint, age. Lots of more stuff, but it's working. All right, guys, so we're out here painting parts after all that sanding. I like to use Duplicolor's heavy filler primer. This is in gray, and then I'll go over it with some metallic spray paints for the base coat. I've already done the main body here. It's just drying. That was done in chrome aluminum. This is all stuff that I've used for years in the film industry and I'm very familiar with. And it's why I choose these paints. It's gotten pretty expensive over the years, to be honest. I just picked this up from Canadian Tire, and I think the most expensive part of this project was the paint, even more than the screen and the electronics. But it's gonna be worth it. They're gonna look super cool, and I'm excited. All right, working on the Fallout terminal again today. I have to make some custom bezel pieces for the screen, and I have to make some clearance for the mounting screws, so I'll show you that now. All right, as you can see, there's the screen and the mounting screws. Now, because the screen is 16:9, I need to fill that space, so I'm going to make a bezel. So I've got this acrylic that I've had to cut notches on the sides to clear these screws. I diffuse these just by sanding them, and then I'm going to back paint them with black, so it's gonna look like a black shiny bezel, almost like an extension of the screen. All right, so I've got all the main components base coat painted, and I'm going to get set up to age it and make it look like it's truly from the, I guess, post-apocalypse. So I've done some highlight metal scratches on the shroud, painted some of the little screw heads also, opposite silvers to give some contrast. Now I'm going to go over the whole thing with a black paint wash just to get in all the low spots and give it that grimy look. So I'm done doing the highlights, the scratches, and the black wash. Made it look quite dirty and aged, like it survived the apocalypse. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of rust. I'm not going to go overboard on the rust. Just a few little spots in there and whatnot, and give it some character. To accomplish this, I'm just going to use 3 colors, like a burnt sienna, a dark, like raw umber brown, and a little bit of orange. I'm going to start with the darkest color and move up in layers, and then just dab it on. We are done with the finished painting. It's going to let this dry a bit, and then I can install the electronics and the rest of the parts. I think it looks really cool. I'm very happy with it. The screen is installed, bezel's installed, knobs are glued on. I just used super glue for all of that, and I painted the power cable and the Chromecast cable because they were black and gray and they just looked too modern and not very Fallout-like. Just waiting for the red paint to dry, and I'll put a little bit of aging on it like I did with this yellowy green for the power cable. And then we're ready to get the internal lights installed, set up all the wiring, and finally glue the back on once all that's finished. Alright guys, it's 1 in the morning. I'm pretty exhausted. Been working on this all day. But I'm pretty much done the wiring. I just have to clean up this back port on here because it's looks kind of ugly being open like that, so I want to get that closed off a bit, and after that it is finished. Some finishing touches. I just printed this Robco emblem. It's actually glow-in-the-dark filament. I'm painting the background silver. Gonna age it and then keep the letters in green. With the green backlight from the inside of there, plus the glow-in-the-dark text, it's gonna be really cool. And with that final detail right there, and the rear I/O port that I just cut and installed, the white cord looks too new, so I'm going to wrap the whole thing in this yellow tape and then age it. But I'm pretty sure we are finished, so I'm going to get this hooked up in some better light and get some cool shots. Alright, so it's time to hang the Fallout terminal. I decided to hang it from my bar here, and I found a projector mount that's meant for mounting projectors to the ceiling. So I have mounted that to the roof of the bar, and it's just going to click on there, so I can have it on a bit of an angle pointing towards the seating area in front of the bar. Alright guys, in the bar, just hung the TV. I had a lot of fun building this Fallout terminal. Just wanted to give a shout out to Power Up Props, who designed the original STL file. Really didn't take much modification for me to do what I did. few things in post and a couple little file edits and scaling. So thanks again, Power Up Props, and without further ado, here is the finished mounted in the Fallout bar terminal. I think it turned out really great. It adds a lot of character to the bar. I'm excited to add more Fallout things to this bar and really transform this bar in my games room into a true Fallout themed bar. So stay tuned. I'll have more videos on things like this awesome terminal Fallout theme bar. I'll give you a hint. See that light fixture that has no light on it? That's the next thing I'm working on. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed and liked the Fallout terminal. Have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next one.